Assalamu alaikum, my dear beloved brothers and sisters. I've been asked a question a couple of times in the past few days about demonstrations. You know, what's going on in the world, the wars, the unrest that's happening. Is it halal for us to go on demonstrations? I heard it's halal. I heard it's haram. I heard this. I heard that. So I was asked the question a couple of times and told to share the message. So I want to summarize it. First of all, in Islam, there's something called maqasid, goals, purposes, and then something called wasa'il, the means to get there, the means with which you get to your goal. For example, I go to college. So my goal is to go to college and get my college degree. Now, how do I get to college? I can take a car to the college. I can take a bus. I can take an Uber. I can walk. I can, take a bike. So those are the means. So the goal is halal or haram. But the means are not necessarily haram or halal. It depends on the situation that you're in. If this time is summertime and it's beautiful, you can walk, you can jog, but it's freezing and it's snowing and then it's 7 inches of snow out there and you want to walk 10, 15 miles, you're going to freeze, you're going to die. It's haram for you to walk in that weather. Is a knife halal or haram? It's a means of cutting your food, but it's also a means of maybe, if you say it's halal all the time, I'm going to take a knife and stab someone and kill them and say you said a knife is a halal. No, the means depends on how you apply it. So a demonstration is not a goal. It's not our goal to go on demonstration in Islam. It's a means to get a message across. It's a means to explain to people things that they're not aware of and make awareness and build support and all of that. And so is it haram or halal? It depends on how we use it, when we use it, how we use it, and the circumstances around it. Okay? So before we get into the details, the first question then is, do you know who the first Muslim to go on a demonstration, muzaharat or masira is? The first Muslim to go on a demonstration was the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. When Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab became Muslim, because it's some people might say it's haram, and then some people might say, well, if you're in a country that's not Muslim, they're not going to listen to you, so it's worthless that you go on a mudaharat. Well, the first man to go on a demonstration was the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam in Mecca, which at the time was a kafir country 100%. What did he do? The Prophet alayhi salam, when Umar ibn al-Khattab became Muslim, drew two lines. He was the leader of one line, and Umar ibn al-Khattab was the leader of the second line, and they went all across Mecca al-Mukarramah saying, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, sending it loud, a message of what this religion is. Now, were there other demonstrations at the time of the Prophet ﷺ? Absolutely, yes. There were multiple demonstrations at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. For instance, the Prophet ﷺ sent Khalid ibn al-Walid, who was one of the best commanders ever in history and in Islamic history especially. And this time when the Prophet ﷺ sent him to go fight in a battle, it was very tough that he had to withdraw and come back to Medina. When he came back, a little boy, very powerful warrior, and his father was a very powerful warrior called Abdullah ibn Zubayr ibn al-Awwam. He got very angry and upset. So he called upon all the children of Al-Medina and all the women of Al-Medina, and they went on a demonstration and followed and chased the army of Khalid ibn al-Walid, saying, Antum al-Farrar, Antum al-Farrar, you have run away from battle, and you're cowards, you're cowards. Until the Prophet ﷺ came and explained the verse in the Quran in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِلَّا مُتَحَيِّزًا إِلَى فِئَةٍ. That yes, you're not supposed to withdraw on the battlefield as a Muslim. However, if the Prophet ﷺ is in a place, then you have the right to combine and come to the Prophet ﷺ. So he said, Khalid bin Walid merely just came to me, and that's why he's justified in what he did. So in Islam, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and including the Prophet ﷺ, there have been multiple demonstrations that happened. Now, let's look at the circumstances. Somebody lives in a country. There are certain countries that say we do not allow demonstrations. If you go out in demonstration, it means you're going to go straight to jail. Or some people have the concept that if you go on a demonstration, it means you're anti-government. In Arabic, we say al-kharij ala wali al-amr. Again, it depends on the circumstances that you're in. If you're going to go on demonstration, it means you're going to go to jail. It means you're going to use your job. It means, violence and breaking and doing. No. Then this is not the right means to use. Okay. But we're talking about a country such as in Europe, such as the United States of America, that loves and appreciates people that are able to stand up for their rights civilly, with full respect, and have a beautiful message. They go to the city. By the way, you go to the city and you get a permit to go on a demonstration, and they approve it for you. And then they give you a certain location, and you go in an organized location, and you don't, you're not violent, you're not breaking things. No. Some of the greatest leaders in the United States of America, that Republicans and Democrats and blacks and whites and Chinese and Asians and Hispanics love so much, is Martin Luther King. And he was most famous for his non-violent movement, for his demonstrations. So if you live in a country where demonstrations are supported, they're appreciated, by all means, there's nothing wrong with using it, but you have to use it wisely. You have to use it wisely. Make sure you get all the right permits, make sure you're the right location, you're sending the right message. Sometimes we want to have some people act out of place. You want to make sure you have the right leadership. You have people that are able to control the crowd and make sure the crowd is going in a proper way and in a decent way. Then absolutely it's halal, and it's actually not just halal. It's a great thing that you could do because you get the mission across. A lot of people do not know what's going on. They don't know what's going on in Sudan. They don't know what's going on in Palestine. They don't know what's going on here. Again, we're not talking about screaming and shouting at violence and breaking. We're talking about taking pictures, putting a message, brochures, and being able to explain to the people, no, this is one of the most beautiful things you can ever do as a Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ has been in demonstrations. The Sahaba have been in demonstrations. The people after that have been in demonstrations. And it's something that's very normal. It's something that you can reach with. It's something that a lot of people have achieved so much with. A couple of examples. I remember in one of the states that I've lived in, there was a gentleman, very kind gentleman, mashallah, in Ramadan. One time he was going home and he stopped by Panera Bread. And he realized that Panera Bread takes all this bread that they have left over and they throw it away. And he says, and it was Ramadan. He's like, hey, by the way, instead of throwing it away, do you mind if I pick it up every day when you guys close and I'll give it to the homeless people? They said, sure. So this man would go in and pick up the bread at Panera Bread before they closed every single day and donate it to the poor people, give it to the poor people day in and day out. And then the homeless people just loved him. The homeless people loved this man. One day he came to them and he was very upset and disappointed. The homeless people could see him. He's always smiling, but that day he was so sad. And they're like, what's wrong? He said, well, we Muslims in this area are trying to build an Islamic center, a masjid, but we went in front of the city and the city said no. And of course, in front of the city, when they come to vote, most of the Muslims are, Africans and, Asians and whatever, and they speak with an accent, and they said no. And they're all white Caucasian people. And guess what happened the next day? When there was another count, when there was another meeting, the homeless people all came and gathered in front of the city itself. And they were holding their sign and said, yes, we want the Islamic Center here. And when they saw the tens of people out there that were from that city and from that state and from this country, born and raised, standing with the Muslims, they gave them the permit immediately. So yes, demonstrations do work in so many ways, in so many fashions, as long as it's done the right way. And even if you want to go and look it up as a Muslim, you're going to find that in 1995, there was something called the Million Man March, which was led by Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the Nation of Islam, where he gathered 1 million men in front of the Capitol building. Very decent, beautiful day with a lot of prayers and a lot of, and stuff like that. Surah Al-Fatiha was recited and everybody did, it was just an amazing, amazing, peaceful day in front of the Capitol. And the Capitol, this is where the Congress and Senate is. They approved it. They gave the licenses, even though it was 1 million people and it was very risky. And a lot of people were afraid and they're all black men. But no, it turned out to be very peaceful. So yes, as long as you're doing a peaceful demonstration, you're able to get a beautiful message. You have beautiful flyers. You're not out there to insult people and hurt people or break anything. Absolutely, it's halal. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you for your efforts. I hope I answered that question clearly. Assalamu alaikum.